Now we are going to learn how to create forms. And first thing that you need to know is that when you create a form, usually it should be connected with some server-side language like JavaScript or PHP, but we are going to create only the look of the form with the HTML, so it's not going to have any functions. And we create the form with the form tag, and usually with the form you'll see an attribute called action, which is going to submit the form to a certain page, for example a PHP page, so just the file name .php, for example. You will also see method, which is going to be post or get, but that means that we are making a post request to the server, but this is some more advanced stuff. You don't need to know it now. I'm just showing you this because you may see it, just to know what it means. But this is, like I said, more advanced stuff, getting to know some server-side language like PHP, and we are learning only HTML in this lesson, so let's continue without any diving deeper into this. So in our form, let's put a tag label, which is going to be first name, and under that let's put an input, and the input have attribute type and name, and the inputs have a lot of different types, and this, for example, will be type text, which is the most common type, and the name we'll just put something here, first name, for example, because it doesn't matter right now because we are not making any functions with this form. But if we save this and reload now, we will see that we have this form here in our page. And I will just quickly put something here because I want you to see better. I don't want this to be on the bottom of the page, so I'll put div element with style margin top and 500 pixels, because I want to have a scroll here, so I can put this into the middle of the page so you can see better. And this form is really close to the table, so I want to separate them a little bit, and usually we are going to do this with CSS, but we are not using CSS now, so I'm just going to put a line break here. So after the table we are saying br, and this is going to put a line break between the table and the form. And there is something else I want to show you, which is called HR, which is horizontal rule, and it's being used to separate things. It's going to put a line here. If we reload, you're going to see it. I'm going to put another BR here, another line. And this is just for the simple purpose of separating things. Now let's put another label. I'm going to copy this and say last name, if you want to create a label for the last name, and you'll see that it will pop up here, and you'll see that they're next to each other right now. And usually when you have forms like this, you will have the first name here and the last name here below. So if we want to do that, we are going to wrap up these labels in div elements, because you remember that the div element is a block element, and it's starting things on a new line. So if we say if we wrap up these labels in divs and we reload the page, you'll see that now they're below each other, and they are pretty close together. But and usually we will use CSS to separate them a little bit and make them look better, but right now we are using only HTML, so we are going to put a line break here between them. and it will look a little bit better. So let's create another table, which is going to be email, and I want to show you something. When you're creating email, the type could be text as well, but in HTML5 there is a input type email, which is going to add a little bit of validation, and if the type is not a valid email, it's going to give us an error, which is nice. And if we want to put text area here, let's call this message. We actually don't need an input type. We need a tag called text area, and usually you will have a name here, which we will call message. And if we save and reload, you'll see that we now have this text area in which we can put some text. And there is something called select list. Let me show you. If I copy this div, and let's say this is going to be gender, and we are going to put select here, and the select name is going to be gender, and inside of this select we need to have option, and this is going to be male, and this is going to be female. And usually the option should have value is equal to male, and here the value is equal to female. And if we reload this, actually after the message we should have a new line. Okay, now that looks better. Then now we have select with with male and female options, and just to be political correct, let's put another one, which is going to be other, and gender. Now we have the three options: male, female, and other. This is the select option. And something else that I want to show you is another input type, which is going to be age. Okay, and the input type is number. The name is going to be age, and we can actually have a value here of, let's say, 35. And if we reload now, you'll see that we have this input type of number, and we have these arrows here from which we can select an age or write an age. And another one that I want to show you is date. And if we reload now, you'll see that now we have this little date calendar from which you can select a date, and it's pretty cool. So you just create a label, and the input type is date. And there is something pretty cool that I want to show you, which is called placeholder. And if you want to put a placeholder in this age form, for example, we are going to put here placeholder, enter your age. If we reload now and we don't have any value in the age section, it will say enter your age like a background gray, with the background gray color. And as soon as you put something here, it disappears. That is a placeholder. It's pretty useful. For example, if you want to put it here in the first name, it will stay here until you put some value. Okay, and it disappears as soon as you put some value. And the last thing that we need in this form is going to be a submit button. So we are going to put an input with type submit. The name is going to be submit, and actually the value will be the name of the button. So we'll put the submit with capital S, and now we have this submit button, which is not working because we don't have any server-side programming language which have a function for this. But this is how you create a submit button at the end of your form.